Welcome, listeners. We have a brand new episode of Watch Skip Plus. We want to be your go-to source for insightful and pop-cultured movie reviews. If you have not seen the tag, if maybe you were looking down at your phone or something, you're actually in the spoilered discussion, bless you, Mike, for Mortal Kombat, and he muted it, Mortal Kombat 2. We are in the spoiler discussion, so what that means is if you have not seen the film, we are going to spoil the shizzazz out of it. You might want to see the link for the spoiler-free episode, which airs on a Friday, generally-ish, and then our spoiler discussions are usually released on a Sunday or a Monday. So here we go. Let me open this first by talking about the first film, Mortal Kombat, directed by Simon McQuoid. It started with Hiroyuki Sanada's character, who would eventually become Scorpion. And then what we come to find out is that his descendant is the Lewis Tan character, Cole Young. This is not a character that was in any of the video games. It sort of followed his story and his getting up to speed with Mortal Kombat and the sort of like the tournaments. Brian, what did you like and what did you not like about that first Mortal Kombat?
So the opening was like chef's kiss, like perfect. Like the Sub-Zero Scorpion characters were the backbone of the fandom of the games. Like they were the figurehead mascots of the games. The color scheme, the good versus evil, that was a great way to kick off the first film. I don't know why or where they came up with this idea that and a lot of other films have done this too, where you need this common man in
the
audience
guy,
perspective, everyman thing, and it just I didn't understand why they did the character of Cole Young. It just didn't make sense. Even it seemed kind of shoehorned in. Also, story wise, I didn't really like the fact that he was like the descendant of Scorpion, because it just or was everybody that had a mark at one time a descendant of Scorpion? Because initially it was on his son, I guess, that Raiden saved, and then it was kind of murky as to how that was passed down, and like
apparently you could kill people and take their mark.
Sure,
so it's not like they were born with it, but
exactly. But some people were. Lewis Tan was. Like that, so that mythology that just didn't pan out. It just was so confusing
stupid.
if you think about it, and it was just nonsense.
But
dumb. Other than that, the other world building that they did, I think was strong. I like the Outworld stuff. And Bihan is again, he's a huge character in it, and Joe Taslim is a fantastic martial artist.
Oh God, he's such a great martial artist.
From Raid Redemption on up, everything he's been in has just been. He elevates any. Anytime he's on screen, he elevates it, and the same thing with Haruki Sanada. Both of them on screen together is like you just have two giants in the martial arts world facing off, so you couldn't ask for more. I think that they should have, just like in the original '95 film, concentrated more on the core characters of the game. Liu Kang is your main protagonist. Liu Kang is the heart of the franchise. So that they replaced him with this Cole Young character just was kind of like, it was just a dumb idea. They did a disservice to the mythology and the fans in that respect. But again, it was strong enough that I enjoyed that film for what you want to enjoy a Mortal Kombat film for, was the fights, the rivalries, and story kind of takes a backseat. Now, the world of Mortal Kombat is very mythology heavy, so that can kind of drag stuff down. But because there's a lot of stuff that you'd have to do exposition on, you don't need to get into all the little nooks and crannies of the world. So if the first one was too much exposition and not enough fights, this was all fights, no exposition. You got an introduction to Johnny Cage, which is fantastic. I love Karl Urban. I love the character of Johnny Cage. He's a fun character. Him being a washed up actor, is a nice segue into seeing where he is in his life. It's not quite the same Johnny Cage that you got in the original '95 film, because he was more successful, like top of his game, like maybe Jean-Claude Van Damme, he was trying to prove himself as a real fighter. This is, hey, I'm not a real fighter. I'm an actor. I just happen to be good at martial arts, but and that was years ago. So that was nice to kind of have that. The script though didn't do him any favors, but you know, I think he still brought a lot of fun to the role.
Oh
Um,
yeah, his
it's
sequence
going,
with Baraka alone
yeah, yes,
is.
I mean,
Baraka was,
I mean,
yeah,
who knew
that was
Baraka
good.
was going to be that interesting? Like, I was like, oh
So,
man, this could go sideways.
so
So,
for me, that first movie, it's a slog to get through. Like, I
Oof.
understand
yeah,
that they are trying to build a universe and make it serious,
hmm
but hitching their horse to Louis Tan, who is not an actor, he
hmm
cannot emote. Totally dragged down the first movie. They're trying to expand this world, and the thing about Mortal Kombat, the first film in this series, is they don't even get to the fucking tournament. That's
no,
how awful that first film
yeah,
is. It's literally just a lead in. And
hmm
then when we get to the training sequence and learning your arcana or
yeah,
whatever,
Arcana,
and then the assassination attempt, I just was like, what the fuck are we doing here?
yeah,
And so that's primarily why I was so disappointed.
hmm
Yeah.
And going into this film, I had hoped that Brian, as you said, they would course correct. They didn't learn shit from making that first movie.
yeah,
Every single mistake is repeated here.
hmm
There is, yes, we do get to the tournament, but then there's all these different little sojourns. Now there's an amulet, and there's, we get
which is a
Kitana's
pickup from the
storyline.
first one, but it was a throwaway in the first one, which
Yeah.
fans of the game would know. Okay, that's what the heck's his name? The sorcerer. Man, I am losing my Mortal Kombat cred right
Oh,
now.
isn't it like Kin Jin or whatever, the guy that
No,
shows
no,
up in this one?
no, no, no. There's another boss beyond Shao Kahn who's an evil sorcerer. That's his amulet. And that's the mythology that fans of the game would know. It was a
Yeah.
blink and you miss it moment in the first one where Kano steals it. But it also made no sense that if that amulet's that powerful and you have Kano, who's dead, now you resurrect him and he just happens to have it on him and you didn't realize it was on him the entire time. You didn't need to bring him back. Like
Yeah.
that's it.
So
So
that was
there were story
so
points
that
that
was
didn't
my
make sense.
other yeah, they could have just rifled through his goddamn pockets, but they make such a big deal about Kung Lao being killed because he
hmm
and Liu Kang are tight. I don't know, they're butt buddies,
Yeah,
something's going on between the two of them. And
yeah,
Kung Lao dies, and then that's what makes Liu Kang be like, now we got to kick ass because you killed my brother, basically.
sure.
And then they just bring him back, and then they just bring back Kano. It's so stupid. Like I said, that it takes away stakes. So we're in the spoiler discussion. We should talk about the fact that like Cole Young dies in a very
Yeah.
graphic death. He basically
hmm
gets his head smashed.
I
Right.
cheered my ass off
Oh
when
my
he
god,
got
I did
killed.
too.
I was
I
like,
hate.
Oh
yes.
yeah,
I
what a
was like, thank God this
fatality.
character. But you know what? It doesn't matter. He'll just come back. He'll
Yeah.
just come back because
Yeah.
they're going to get the sorcerer and bring him
I
back.
don't
And I'm
think
like,
they're going to bring him
no,
back though, because they know they shouldn't have made him a character. I
They
don't think
are.
he's going to.
They're
they've
gonna. I
got
mean,
to. They've
they
got
they
to.
basically the end of the film shows us that they all get together. They get Damien Harriman's sorcerer character to come,
Yeah.
and they're
Yeah,
they're
Quan
going to
Chi.
they're
Yeah,
going to resurrect all their friends, and that's what the next movie is going to be.
That's why I don't want a third. It's so
yeah.
stupid.
Yeah.
It's so
So they're
stupid.
going
Well,
to
it's part of
resurrect
the
everybody.
mythology. So the revenants in the game are
Uh-huh.
part of the mythology. Eventually, Liu Kang comes back as a revenant. He dies in the
hmm
mythology of the game, the storyline. Kung Lao comes back. Like a lot of characters come back. I mean, but in a way, you think about it. If it's done right, you don't mind it. So you have Noob Saibot. So
Not
Noob
done
Saibot
right.
A lot of
is
times they do it the opposite, though. If they were a
yeah,
good guy, they come back as a bad guy. If they're a
correct.
bad guy, they come
Yep.
back as a good guy, etc.
Yeah. So that
Oh,
adds a little bit of
speaking of good guy, bad guy. Come on, we know Kano's a scoundrel, but please. In the first one, he's
He
in
was a bad
cuffs,
guy.
and this is the
yeah.
weirdest thing. He gets out of the cuffs, and then he and Sonya are just standing there like, hey. It's like, why was he in cuffs to begin with? And then
Yeah.
suddenly you're his fucking friend, and then he becomes a bad guy, and now he switches back. Please don't do that. Please, the
Yeah.
betrayal stuff. It's so stupid. Now, I don't know if that's a nod to the fact that when you play Mortal Kombat, you can be a villain or you can be a good character. I just think again, it takes away the stakes if you can die and you can come back, you can be bad and then you can be good. And maybe it's a counterpoint to Kitana's story, because the way that this film opens is Shao Kahn, who, by the way, was the villain in Mortal Kombat Annihilation, played by Brian Thompson. Here he's played by Martin Ford, who is this ginormous British actor. You've seen him in like Fearless, the Jet Li film, like that stuff. He's so hot. But anyway, Shao Kahn shows up and he takes over Edenia, which, by the way, it's spelled Edenia. I thought they were calling it Adania, like Adele or anyway, whatever. He takes over. He kills the king in a great opening action sequence. I thought that action sequence was really good. And then he basically is like, "Now you are my daughter," which is like, wow, rough trade. But then he turns mom into a zombie. It was so weird. Kitana becomes one of the Mortal Kombat fighters, and she's under this this basically forced family with Shao Kahn. But it turns out that she's working with the Earth realm to try to defeat him. But how does that work? Because if the other realm takes over another realm, I don't know how. I just feel like this film broke all of its rules. Like, okay, she becomes the king of Edenia and she helps the Earth people, but like, wouldn't it be not to her advantage to help the Earth realm? Because if the Earth realm wins, then they could take over her realm. Like, none of that made sense. None of it.
I think
it's the Revenant thing. Yeah, it is what it is.
Yep. So if Earthrealm wins, it just means that Outworld and Shao Kahn cannot invade our realm. So that's what they're trying to stop. So Kitana's motivation is because she's seen it happen to her world. She doesn't want to allow him to gain any more power or for any other realm to go through what her realm went through. And that's her motivation behind it, and to get revenge on Shao Kahn for the death of her father.
It's a long game revenge plan is what it really is.
She's playing that long game like Sawyer from Lost.
Yes.
The
Mike,
long time.
Yeah.
I've been slashing away at this film with my brutality. What worked for you here? You said turn your brain off. Right?
I enjoyed
but that's not what the writers. That's not what the writers want. They don't want you to turn your brain off. They've created fucking Dynasty, Game of Thrones thing. But why did you love this?
I just enjoyed seeing the fights. I enjoyed seeing the tournament. I liked seeing. Again, I thought it was beautiful, the use of colors and the way that they created each different battle zone and battle area. As a fan of the game, I sucked that shit up. It was all very nostalgia for me. And I was just blown away by the fun of it. It just was a fucking fun time at the movie theater. And as much as I thought the dialogue was stupid and silly, I laughed at it. And the audience did too. We were all in on the joke. We were all having fun with this. And that is a rarity for me with these kind of movies, where I kind of feel like I'm the lone giggler. All of us seemed like we were in on the joke. Everybody in that theater, which again was packed except for the front row, we were all in on the fun. And that's what I really enjoyed. I like I said, that bit with Johnny Cage before the fatality where he was wobbling. There's so many little tiny things like that, little what I call Easter eggs to the game that really shine in this film for me. I thought the fights, while I thought they were better choreographed than they were in the last film, and of course, not as well done as Paul W.S. Anderson's film, but I love that we got the fucks, we got the blood. I mean, Kung Lao's death again was great with the blade.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of really cool gore and blood and, lots of swearing.
Let's talk about that. Did you... Because I know that with the first film, and especially with W.S. Anderson's film, they stayed away from the fatalities because they didn't want it to be a gore fest. They obviously revisited it in the first film because somebody dies via Kung Lao's saw the way Kung Lao dies via the saw here. But what did you think about those gores and specifically the deaths of some quote-unquote major characters? What did you think about that?
I cheered every death on. I loved it. I had a blast with it. Now, I thought bringing back the Scorpion and that was a mistake. That should have not happened. Bringing him back at the end, that was just dumb. I will be the first to say I felt like that was tacked on. There was no need for either of those characters to be back in any way, shape, or form. But it comes down to that Revenant mythology, and they're playing that for the fan base, which, you know, if you were a fan of the games, you enjoyed that because you never know who you're going to get. The Revenants are going to be usually different than who they were before they died and got resurrected. So that was, you know, part of the mythology of the game. And while it didn't have any stakes, I didn't give a shit about stakes. I didn't care who died or who lived. I just wanted to see fights. I wanted to hear Kano say some fucking jokes. You know, I wanted to look at Sonya Blade. She's cute, but she's like the worst. Why can they not get the Sonya character right?
Why can they not cast Sonya Blade correctly? You're right.
They cannot get her right.
There's many actresses out there.
Now, Bridget Wilson, in her defense, she was cast at the last second and had to train on set. But she also, like Lewis Tan, is kind of a charisma vacuum. And then the Sonya in Mortal Kombat Annihilation was actually not bad. I kind of dug her. Yeah. But also not an actor. She should have been on a CW show, right? But like, yeah, this Sonya is, I mean, I like, I think her name is McInerney. She's Australian. I like her, but yeah, she's weak. I don't understand that.
But
don't
give her enough to do. They don't give her enough motivation other than, hey, in the first one, it was, I got to find Jax. In this one, it's kind of like, and there was also in the game and also in the original film, there's a love interest thing with her and Johnny. Eventually it goes on to where they have a kid together, and it eventually goes on to where they have a daughter who also fights in the tournament. Her name's Cassie Cage. So if you were to follow the games, it's actually fun. It's too much to cram into like this second film, but my point being is that there should have been something between Johnny and Sonya that wasn't there story-wise. Like there should have been a story beat, which could have given a little more heart to it, you know, as well with those two characters.
Third. Well, her connection, they made her connection to the Jax character throughout these films. Yes. And that's where it seems like they're setting them up to be more of a romantic vibes, even though there's not much romance in these movies, which I'm fine with. I like,
even though he's dead, he fucking dies. Jax dies. Yeah. Crazy. But first of all, Cassie Cage is going to be my fucking drag name. So by the time the Revenants come back for Sub-Zero and I was like, okay, this is ending number 3. Like, what the fuck? Like, Brian, how did you feel about that? Because honestly, when that happened, I was like, okay, wait a minute. Like, fuck, we have to go to hell now and we got to do this. What is this, Spawn? Yeah. What did you feel about? How did you feel about that?
Yes. But again, it's shoehorned in, it's fan service in that respect. Like Mike was saying, it's spectacle, it's fun, it's popcorn fluff, like you just want to see the fight. Story-wise though, it's kind of a bit of a wet blanket because it doesn't have the gravitas that it should have, especially with those two characters. And you're not explaining it 100% like why Bihan is back as Noob Saibot, he's not Sub-Zero anymore. And I mean, there's a whole nother, if when you watched Annihilation back in the day, because I know you're not that familiar with the game, so you realize there's a second Sub-Zero. It's his brother, and he's actually a good guy, so he's a good Sub-Zero. Original Sub-Zero becomes Noob Saibot. Yeah, I know it's a lot. It's a lot to process.
It's a lot. Yeah, I mean, there's a whole mythology here, right? We talked about comics, games,
and fans
like movies.
Know it. And that's the thing. I think for guys like Mike and I, we know the mythology. So when those characters do pop up, even though technically in the story of the movie itself, it may have not been overly explained, we know why they're there. We know what's going on. So that's why I think this is getting the fan reception that it's getting, because that's what they're talking about, course correcting. As far as moving the mythology that fans are familiar with from the games along in the movie sphere, it does that. But where that leaves people out is you are going.
Yeah, I think I think that's the problem with, say, the MCU, which is, I go see an MCU movie and I'm like, it was great, it's such great action, and then somebody says that's not what happens in the comic. They changed the cover story, and I'm kind of like, I don't care because I'm caring about the movie. The other thing that turned my head around about this film was that, some characters die, which I thought was great, but then we all know they can just come back. But they also break their own rules. So there's some Mijigas where, like, you know, we run out of fighters, and then Kitana is like, "I'll fight for Earth," and I'm like,
Yeah,
"What the fuck?"
That was
that was
weird.
kind of like, what is going? That's not part
I'm
of the
like,
game.
"No, they lost. They fucking lost." Like,
Yeah.
what?
Yep. You can't just all of a sudden say. And again, even as a writer, would you didn't write yourself into a corner. You could just have one other person that won and still have her left over as the, or even switch sides before the last person died and say, I'm going to be the replacement. Not your side lost. Wait, no, I didn't. Like that. It was such a, yeah, the rug getting pulled out from under you. But by that time, you're like, okay, just finish the movie.
I
Like,
wanted to
Yeah.
see her revenge. I wanted to see her kick fucking Shao Kahn's ass, so I didn't really care that it was stupid. I really just wanted to see her get her revenge. By that point, I was like, girl, get yours. And she got it. She missed 45'd it. She got her fucking revenge, and that's what I wanted to see because that emotional intro was great. And that was that emotional thing that kind of drove the movie. And
Yeah, they need
we
to
needed
bookend it.
that bookend, and I'm glad it
And
was
then
there.
she became the queen. Yeah.
Yeah, I could have done without the whole again the Scorpion thing and the Sub-Zero. That could have completely been cut out. Their storylines were finished completely. And again, he never really like discusses the Cole Young character like ever really in these movies,
No,
which is weird
it's
to
his
me.
descendant. He
Yeah.
doesn't care. Like he died, he didn't come back to save him. He just like Shao
And by the
Kahn
way,
bashing his
this
head.
is, and here's another thing. This is so crazy. He dies, and they're all kind of like, "Oh, next fight," and it's like no one reacts to
No,
Cole
he's
dying.
got a wife and a daughter. He's like, I've got to fight for them, and
I
like,
know.
And then it was
They
like,
even-
"Oops."
yep,
And if you're gonna create a new character, give him some fucking cool powers, not some dumb, stupid gold shield thing that gives him powers
Yeah.
and these little blades
It
that
was
come out.
Power Rangers. He
Lame.
became a Power Ranger.
That's stupid.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was
I was
horrible.
so glad they killed his ass off because he was the biggest mistake for the first film, which dragged because of him. And I think this is miles beyond that first film, which at the time when it came, when I first watched it at home, because it was pandemic time, I ate it up. And I did see it a couple times, and I did enjoy it much more during that time period. And then I rewatched it again. But prepped for this, and it is
Yep, did the same.
it is such a mess. I
He's
thought it's
not
much-
leading man material.
no, and they
Louis
tried
Penn
that
is
first film
not.
is too fucking serious and too dramatic. This
Yeah.
turns the corn on and the cheese, and that's what this needed. We needed the more cheese. We needed the Kano and the Johnny Cage bickering and all the silly jokes and the Lord of the Rings jokes that kept
Oh
popping
my
out.
god! I think first of all, Kano says something like, "Well, why don't," or whoever says it, he says, "Why don't you read the back of it to see how to destroy it?" Have you ever bought a product and it says on the back, "To destroy this, you should"? No, it doesn't. It's like, ugh.
And he was
then-
going to drop it like the Eye of Sauron, like it's the ring. There were so many jokes about. They must have like cast him before they even wrote this thing, or they had hoped that that's who
Oh
they
my
were going
God,
to
he was
cast.
in the Lord of the
Supposedly,
Rings.
he said he ad-libbed a bunch of his lines where he was putting in those one-liners. So he
Oh,
was just,
good.
riffing on it, and they just left it in. Because, I mean,
Good.
how could you not? It's just, it's comedy gold.
By the way, on screen when I saw Johnny Cage and then Kano, I was like, oh my God, this is the age-old fight. Australia, Josh Lawson versus New Zealand,
Yeah.
Karl Urban. I was like, I love this. The other thing that I want to say is, your script needs some revision when the challenge to continue the main challenge is better than the actual fights itself. So in this film, they essentially need to make friends with, they were called like the Tartanians or the Tarkadians, or I don't know.
Tarkatans.
Yeah, but they live underground and they know the tunnels to get into whatever the fuck they need. And so this challenge, they go in there and they try to fight Baraka so that they can get his help, basically, right? That whole sequence where Johnny Cage like mouths off and he's like, I'm gonna fight you, not him, or whatever. Like, it just worked and the fight
did.
was great, this and that. I was like, if they had done more of that shit rather than these fight sequences that are so stupid. So like when Sonya fights Kitana's
Sindel.
mom, right? So there's all these spikes that are like coming out at different times
That's
of
a
the
stage.
floor.
It's the pit.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
so
it
big.
reminded me. Remember Flash Gordon when it was like the thing and the spikes were. Anyway, I'm dating myself by saying Flash Gordon, the Dino De Laurentiis. But like, they're fighting, and there's all these columns that have spikes on it.
Mhm.
Why not impale her on one of those versus the one on the floor? So again, the writing is just so stupid.
Oh, yeah.
It makes me crazy.
That's because it was real world. The Baraka was an actual like set. It wasn't green screen, which most of the fights
Oh,
were.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
that they were able to open the camera up. There was some really cool like drone scenes where you could like see and feel the scope of that fight, which I think is what made it the most entertaining sequence, along with that first sequence, which also was a real world sequence. But you're supposed to feel like you're in that kind of like green screen where you're watching the side scroll fighting, and that's why it feels so like side scrolly with really
2D.
beautiful visuals, 2D, and that's what they were doing on purpose. But I really did love that Baraka scene, and that was the chef's kiss
So
for
good.
me. That was my favorite sequence. And when they tap back at the very end and he's telling his story to Baraka's children,
God, it's so
I
funny.
laughed
And
my
they're all
ass
like
off.
enraptured. I'm like,
Oh, that was
do you
so
know who
Return
this
of the
guy
Jedi.
is?
It was. It was Return of the
Return of
Jedi.
the Jedi with 3PO telling their story.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I've already complained about the fact that they're shot really close, so it's really just torso up, which makes me crazy. But I think the other problem is, and I think Troy and Brad will agree with me on this, Hong Kong cinema and Hong Kong martial arts films, whether it's wire fu, fantasy flying, or Jackie Chan stuff, they really set the bar for an action scene and action rhythm. You know what I mean? That feels organic. Here, they telegraph their emphasis. So there's like boom, 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 and then it's like ka, and then like they fall over. But all of it just feels so manufactured that their rhythm for the fight scene just became so tedious. I was like, okay, ba-bomb, there you go. Oh, here comes another one, ba-bomb. And then there's all this like kind of, I don't know. It just, the fight scenes were not as good
What did you
for
think
me.
of the Liu Kang Kung Lao fight scene, though? I thought in the portal, I thought that was probably technically probably the best choreographed.
Oh
fight.
yeah, I think that one and the Baraka sequences were my favorites. Quite
Yeah,
honestly,
Baraka
I mean
was
they
the
were
most
great.
fun. That was technically the best executed fight,
Yeah.
choreographed fight in the
Definitely.
in the film. Which I love that. I mean, it's a great stage. It's an iconic stage from the game, the blue portal.
Yeah.
They turn it red at the
I
one
love
point when he
that.
slams up against
That
the
was
wall,
kinda cool.
which is a nod to the Genesis, portal, which was
Yep.
red on the Genesis and the home
That's
version.
how I played it, baby.
Yeah,
I love that.
And everybody,
Oh
so
my
I was like,
God.
so it's a nod to both of
Okay.
them. So there's little Easter eggs, like Mike was saying, sprinkled throughout. So if you're a big fan of the series, they definitely did fan service.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with what you're saying, Jose. There's plenty of things that they could have, they needed to sand off the rough edges big time. I still think if they did a little more refining, sanded down some of the rough edges story-wise, took out, I mean, Mike had said before, listen, this is prime hour and a half, 90-minute fight film from the
Totally.
90s. That's what this should be. They tried to make it into something it wasn't in that respect, and that's where it falls short. But again, for me, it's still a watch. So it was a fun time with an audience for me. So
Yeah.
that's why on my end, it's still, it's a watch. It's still
Yeah.
a watch.
Part of
You know?
So for me, as you know, I fucking hated it. It's a skip, but there's a part of me that wonders if the executives felt the same way I did and was like, oh, we need to position this so a lot of people go and they don't whiff the shitty stink before they tell people not to go. Mike, parting thoughts, final thoughts about the film before we adjourn.
Well, I'm all for this franchise. I'm ready for the Kano Johnny Cage Hobbs and Shaw style spin-off where we have them working together with Baraka to fight for Baraka's world. I'm ready for it. Let's get it
I'd
going.
watch that.
Lethal
watch
Weapon
that.
3 style where Baraka is Joe Pesci.
Hell yeah, let's do it. Let's do
That'd
it.
be
That's what I
great.
want. I want more movies in this franchise. I want to have more fun. And one last thing I'm going to say is the video games are now the new Marvel movies. We are going to see a lot more of these, as well as the new horror thing is young 20-year-old YouTubers making horror movies. We are going to see a lot more of this style of video game, over the top movies. I know we've got, I hope you come back, Brian, for what we will eventually be the Street Fighter movie.
Oh, you know it.
Yes.
Akuma Tattoo. You can't keep me away from Street Fighter.
So
Yes,
I'm
yes.
excited. I think we're in this kind of fun golden age where I hope that we get more silly nostalgia bait type video game movies. So I think it's been Sonic and Mario, and now we've got this. Sky's the
To
limit.
which I say, where is my Grand Theft Auto film?
Yeah, that could be great.
Oh, it's
NC-17.
coming. It'll come. It'll come.
Yes.
Sorry, Glenn Powell.
Yes. No. You know what? Put Glenn Powell and Louis Tan in a movie and see how that works. Okay.
See who falls asleep first.
They're so milquetoast. Yeah, put the two milquetoasts together.
Jesus. In disguises. We need disguises.
Yeah.
So, Mike, parting thoughts before we adjourn our spoiler discussion.
Yeah, continue to go and support live exhibition, whether it's film, television, music. I'm getting ready to spend 3 days next weekend at a large music festival from like 2 to 10 every night. I'm excited. So yeah,
Wait, are we taking a break then? Is that what's happening?
You are always ready for a break. I don't need to have a break unless you really want one.
Okay.
It's totally up to you.
So we got Obsession, In the Gray, which I think I'd rather cut my fucking arm off than watch In the Gray. It's the Guy Ritchie with Henry Cavill and Jake Gyllenhaal. Jesus Christ, you might as well put Louis Tan in that shit.
And Glenn Powell.
Yeah. Anyway, okay.
Your boyfriend Glenn Powell. Yeah, so
We'll do Obsession.
I do like that we're covering the YouTubers becoming horror, feature filmmakers. So
as always, Brian, thank you so much for guesting and coming back on. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
And yes, you're definitely going to need to come back on for Street Fighter because that latest trailer, I was like, I don't know about this.
It sold me more than the last one. I'm still hyped for it. I think that's going to hit the right balance of spectacle and
nostalgia base.
Nostalgia, and it's got the humor. They're wearing it on their sleeves, so I enjoy that. I think that's going to make I'll preempt it with maybe more fun than this with a crowd.
I hope so.
We'll see.
I hope so too.
They got to do it right, man. I've been waiting for a good film, as we all have, since Jean-Claude stepped on screen as Guile.
Absolutely.
Give us a good Street Fighter. So.
I still love that one, though. I know it's stupid, but I love it.
I don't apologize for my love of that film, but it's not a Street Fighter film. I will go down to say, and I'm not the only one that said this. It's been said that was a G.I. Joe movie before a G.I. Joe movie came out.
Yes, absolutely. It's totally G.I. Joe. It's nothing like Street Fighter. Yeah, exactly. All right, folks, as always, be kind, be open, be vulnerable. That's where the art is. And maybe next week? Yeah, next week. Obsession. Curry Baker, another youngin. All right. See ya. Bye.
Bye.